Today's video, I'm going to be showing you how I deworm my horses. The first thing I do is I get all of my dewormer, I take it all out of the boxes, and I write all the horses' names on the tube. And I've got my weight tape here. I'll do a quick weight on everybody before I give them their dewormer. And I have a lot of horses that are smaller, and what I do is I'll give, like this tube, this is Equimax, and it feeds up to, or deworms up to 1,320 pounds. So I can easily deworm a larger horse and a smaller pony with one tube. So I went ahead and I wrote like Muffin and Lucky will be on the same tube and that sort of stuff to make things quick and easy for me. Okay, so the first thing I do is I get a weight on my horse. So I use just a basic weight tape, and I'm going to get, I always do the best 2 out of 3. So she's about 938 pounds is what we're gonna go with. So there's a mark on the dewormer for 990 pounds, so that's the one she's gonna get. So I'll change that. And she's gonna be sharing a tube with one of the minis, so works out great. I'm just going to put it right in the corner of her mouth and squeeze it. There. That's it. I always like to get a weight on my horses when I deworm them because I want to make sure that I'm accurate with my weight, and I want to just check and see if anybody's gained a lot or lost. I don't typically write it down, but I just know in my mind where they're at weight-wise. So this is Nakona, and she is at 1126. That's pretty standard for her. Now the thing about these tubes, I actually like, this is Equimax, I actually like this one because the tubes are a little shorter, and so for small hands, it makes it a little bit easier to push the plunger in. This particular horse is my worst horse to deworm. She, you can tell it was never something that was done with her when she was younger. I didn't get her till, we don't know how old she is, but she was early teenage when we got her. So she's still not great about it, but it's something that is a constant work in progress. So she is by far the worst one of my herd to deworm. And she was a lot worse when we got her. About 1172. And what I do is I just make sure that my tape stays in a straight line from the withers down below, right behind the elbow. So 1172. Danny's assisting me here. Okay, I like to prepare my horses for their dewormer by frequently just pushing my thumb in the corner of their mouth. This is the first step for me to ever deworming a horse, is I just do that. This is an apple scented or apple flavored dewormer. I don't dare taste it to see if it's true or not, but it does kind of smell like apples. So this horse, I'm gonna give her the whole tube just because she has a tendency to fling some of it out of her mouth anyway. So I start on the cheek, and I'm just gonna wait until she settles, and then I pull it away and I rub her. I just, in any manner that I can get it in, I do, but I want it to be a very quiet and simple process for her. So that's a lot better than it used to be. And another thing that I'm gonna do is, I'm gonna come on the other side and just sort of rub her mouth over here and put my thumb back in there and pet her. And I'll do the same thing on this side. And just, it gets better every single time, you know, and I pet her for a couple years, but it gets better every single time. And anytime I have the opportunity to take an empty tube of dewormer and maybe even just stuff a couple pieces of grain in it, this horse will do anything for food. So if I can put a little bit of grain in it or even applesauce and squirt it into her mouth, we do that on occasion, and that really helps her out a lot. But that was good. That was a really good session for her. We have Rosie. She's gonna be getting the rest of Miss Kitty's tube. Thank you, Miss Danny. This is always easier when there's two people. Whenever I do this for myself, it takes me a while. Miss Kitty's. And with the minis, you want to be super careful with minis because it's really easy to give them too much medication, and they can die from that. There's one type of dewormer that is extremely dangerous if given an overdose. So I am very careful not to get that one. So, and with these minis, they are so fluffy that you really have to pull down on the tubes. So she's at 364. Okay, and I think, doing my math correctly, there's 330 pounds worth left in this tube. Yes. Show everybody how good you are. Got a little bit on her lip here, so I want to make sure that there. Good girl. I'm going to go to the 1100 mark, and that leaves 220 left. But I can share with Bear instead, because Bear's is in some too, so I think Annabelle's going to get her. Okay. What a little pork chop. She gained a lot of weight. She's usually in like 8 to 9, or like high 8. Now I'm just gonna wait because I want her to settle a little bit. And if they ever have like big clumps of grass or anything in their mouth or hay, as they start to lick and stuff, it'll just all come out in a big clump. I haven't fed anybody yet this afternoon, so that's the perfect time to do it, is when you're not worried about everything falling out of their mouth. Now, every horse on my property is dewormed a little bit differently than the next. I like to do strategic deworming, and with strategic deworming, we have the vet do a fecal sample every spring, and then we get back. We have our vet do a fecal sample every spring, and then we get back the results, and the horse is either categorized into a low, moderate, or high shedder. So the horses that are low shedders get dewormed twice a year, so they get a product like Zymectrin Gold or Equimax in the spring, and then again in the fall. And then the horses who are moderate shedders, they get 3 dewormings a year, so there's just one more in the middle of the year, like June or July. And then my high shedders, they get 4 dewormings a year. So they get spring, June, July, and then again in the fall. So, and Muffin is, I believe she was a low shedder. See, and now here's something funny that they will mostly all do, is you bring the dewormer close to their face, and they'll all do that, like where they smack their lips. They just know that it's coming. So, but anyway, so with the strategic deworming, the reason I switched to that, because we used to do rotational deworming, where you just deworm them every other month year round. To me, it just made a lot of sense to see what the horse's individual needs are and do it based on that. So cost-wise, it ends up being cheaper to do the strategic deworming. A fecal sample is roughly $20. And then our tubes of dewormers, let's say they're approximately $10. So if we're deworming only 4 times a year, that's $40 plus the fecal sample is $20. So that equals out to 60 bucks, same as it was to do rotational. And the thing that I like about it is we're helping prevent the resistance that worms are becoming resistant to the different medications. So, and it's also less chemicals going into the horse's bodies, that sort of thing. And it's a lot of work. So it's just a lot, it works out much better for me to do it this way. I really like it. And my vet's been recommending it for many years. Okay. So it's 1320 minus 880. Here's a reason why you have to be good in math. So many people, I don't need math after school. If you have horses, you do. You gotta know, you gotta be able to figure simple stuff out. Factor in your hay, all that. Okay, so she's gonna get 880 and she's sharing this tube with Lucky, so. Whoops, just a little dribble. Something important too to think about, people who have dogs and deworm, there's certain breeds of dogs that are extremely sensitive to like ivermectin. I know somebody who had a collie, and the collie ate horse poop after the horses were dewormed with ivermectin, I believe, and the dog ended up dying from that. So I'm always really careful. I like to deworm them all in the same spot so I can easily clean up the floor if I need to. We haven't spilled anything yet, but it's something to think about. And but it's certain breeds of dogs that are more sensitive to it. But we have chickens, cats, everything. I want to make sure that they don't eat any of the dewormer off the floor. I can't get my hand on the end of it. Now she's got a bunch of hay in her mouth. It's coming out. So there we lost a little bit, so I'm going to give her the rest of the tube because we lost some. And now something that's important to think about too is I don't just like come at them with it. I come down the side of the face and push it into the corner of the mouth, nice and gentle. That way it's not as big of a deal. But a lot of people are, you know, they just really poke them with it, and then the horses really don't take too kindly to that. So I'm always being very cautious how I give it to my horse. I'm going to hold her up here. Blue one? Okay, here's Big Mama. Okay, Danny, you want to hold her?
Oh my God, she's huge.
She really is.
Yeah. Special's nowhere near that big.
And she's, like she goes in the arena and usually she's one to like run and kick up her heels. She'll like trot a lap and she's like, I'm done. So yeah, so yeah, there's a baby in this belly. So, you gotta be very careful though with what you use when you have a pregnant mare. You have to make sure that it is approved for pregnant mares. Ooh. Yeah, never saw those numbers on her before. 1203. She's usually like 1067. So she's definitely game. She's like, a snack. A little treat. Apple flavored. Never put a weight tape on her. She has been saddled a couple of times. So, we'll see. I might just get her used to it. I may not actually even check her weight, but I might just put it on her and see how she does with it. Whoops. Now I'll leave it. Okay, my fingers work here. A little more than I expected. And this is all just about being patient and waiting and being quiet with it. And eventually this is not going to bother her at all, but right now she doesn't understand. So I just wait. I'm going to say, oh my gosh, she is about 10:23. So, good girl for your first weight. Let's see. And I've never dewormed. I gave her dewormer one time, but through, I just gave it to her in grain. I never even put the tube in her mouth because I hadn't handled her enough at that point, so I wasn't willing to give it to her orally. And when I do that, all I do is simply just put it in a little bit of like a senior feed, something that's sweeter, and mix it in real good. So I have had my, she's had it a couple of times. I am gonna put my thumb in her mouth, just because I want to make sure that she'll open up her mouth. There, good girl. And I'll just do this a couple of times. I'm actually gonna take my glove off because it'll be a little easier. That was perfect. So, oh, she says that tastes funny. It tastes funny. That's when they spit it all over your face. I don't like that. Oh, this is yucky. What did you put in my mouth? But that was, I couldn't have asked for her to be better through that. That was really good. But that's how it should be. I don't want to scare them the first few times that they're dewormed, because then they're going to remember that forever. So, like every horse that I've gotten from Danny and her family, which is a lot, they all are taking the tube out of your hands. They want to get that in their mouth. They like it. So, there. Well, I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, be sure to give it a like, share it with your friends, and comment below. Let me know if there's any tips or tricks that you have for deworming your horses. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Thanks.